Hey guys, so for today's No Makeup Monday, I thought we'd talk about relationships. Now I've done some like advice-y relationship kind of videos in the past, but they've been very specific, like your first time or how to get over a breakup, but I haven't really addressed like your questions or like any kind of general information. And I was kind of imagining this video to be more like advice style video, but I did get a lot of questions about my own personal relationships, so I am going to answer a couple of those just so, you know, because I got so many, I don't want to ignore those questions completely, but mostly it's going to be focused on advice and like your questions on just relationships in general and stuff like that. Okay, we're going to start out with a really serious question because just to get, you know, get it going. Would you ever date someone if they put the milk in the bowl before the cereal? You know, I can't say that I would. Okay, I got this question a lot, and not this exact one, but this is kind of the general kind of question that I got. Have you guys ever disagreed on a controversial topic that you guys feel very strongly about? Did your relationship change in any way after? And I got a lot of questions as far as like, what do you do when you have a different opinion than the other person? Firstly, I just want to say that's going to happen. It's gonna happen at some point because you do not want to date your twin, let alone you're probably not going to find your twin in the world, you know, it's just they don't exist. And I don't think it'd be fun to date someone who just constantly agrees with you on every single little thing. So this is actually kind of something that's happened recently in my relationship, and I don't want to like get into details or anything, but you know, we have kind of come to this point where we realize that we think about things differently on some subjects. I think it's okay to have different political views, different religious backgrounds, and different things like that. But what I think the biggest, most important thing is when you do differ on such huge things that are important to a lot of people is a couple things. One is respect of the other person, acknowledging that they have every right to feel the way they feel and have that opinion just like you do. And also, I don't know if it's really possible to continue to date someone who doesn't have the same core ideals as you, if that makes sense. For instance, you wouldn't want to date someone who's racist or homophobic if those are things that mean a lot to you. I mean, they should for a lot of people, but you know what I'm saying. Like, those are the big things, the bigger issues in life that I think matter versus who they vote for or stuff like that. Which that can get political in itself, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying that as long as you agree on the core values, that if you, for instance, had a child, those are the things that you would want to teach them, not, you know, Republican, Democrat, Christian, atheist. It doesn't matter. Those things don't really matter. What matters is the core values. I swear someone is in my house. Like, I'm not kidding. I was on YouNow just now, like before this video. I heard someone walking up the stairs and I went out there. There's no one there. I just heard something right now. Next question. Does your psych major help in dealing with relationships? This is gonna tie into other questions such as what do you do if there's like a mental illness in the relationship, or if you have a mental illness or your partner has a mental illness. I'll say having a psych degree, it really helps because we often, when they have a mental illness, and it's really difficult to have one in a relationship, first of all, it's absolutely doable. It just takes a lot of patience of the other person. So if you're the one going through a mental illness, it really helps if your partner has patience, and you just kind of have to tell them that none of it is their fault if you lash out or ignore them at some points of your life, or, you know, just, or part of the day. It's just not their fault, and they have to understand that. And that's been a really hard struggle for me especially, but you have to be understanding of the other person's issues and what they might be going through, and know that it's not you, and to not make it about you, because you just have to trust that if they weren't happy that they would leave. That goes into the next question. Do you have jealousy or trust issues? If so, how do you suggest getting over those insecurities? I definitely had trust issues and jealousy issues back in the day. I'd like to say my first relationship ever was ruined. My first love was ruined by my jealousy issues. And then quite possibly my second love, maybe. Ryan's my third, by the way. But I constantly have to remind myself, well, not so much constantly now. It definitely gets better as you get older, especially when you just stop caring about pettier, that's not even a word. When you just stop caring about smaller things and like, you know, how you look. Like, I get that those insecurities exist, and I still get those insecurities around Ryan all the time. But just remind yourself yourself that if they were not happy, that they would leave, and make them promise you that, because then they're accountable for if they do not leave and they weren't happy. I learned that in my last relationship, my long-term one where I was engaged, as you guys know. I learned that it's not fair to the other person to stay with them because you're too afraid to leave, and that it's not fair to stay with them if you're unhappy. Do you think having prior dating experience with other partners is important before settling down with someone? I have a very unpopular opinion when it comes to this question, because no, I don't think that you necessarily need to have had a past in order to move forward with whoever you're with. I think you have to learn a lot about yourself. You know, you learn as you go. You can still do that in a relationship even if it's your first. I believe, as long as both partners are like, we're gonna stick this through, we're not gonna separate when things get hard, we're going to work things out. And I'm very fortunate to have a boyfriend who very much believes in this, that we can work through anything. Have you guys broken up and gotten back together? If so, has it helped or hurt your relationship? Ryan and I have never broken up. In the past, even temporarily, nothing like that. We've definitely had our issues where I thought that was going to be the outcome, but I and him are very much the kind of people who are like, if you're broken up, you're broken up. I don't necessarily believe in going back to someone once you've broken up with them. I personally could not do that kind of emotions. Like, I don't think I could handle the emotions of on again, off again. It's either we're on or we're off, like 100% or 0%. That's how it goes for me. And yeah, obviously communication is key in a relationship, but when should you draw the line between speaking your mind on what you do and don't like versus just complaining and being annoying? I have a problem with overthinking. This one's hard because there is a fine line between speaking your mind about what you're willing to tolerate in a relationship and put up with, and then saying things that are just mean to the other person. And it's really hard to recognize between the two. So what I would say is it something that they can change about themselves? They are able to change how they speak to you, like they can choose different words to say to you, but can they actually change a certain personality trait? And you really shouldn't go into a relationship, this is like a huge tip here, never go into a relationship hoping or expecting, well, that'll change as they get older, or things that'll change. No, you should never do that. When you enter a relationship, pretend that is who they are for the rest of their lives, and can you do it? Can you handle that? Can you be friends with an ex? Depends on the person. I myself cannot, probably will never be friends with an ex, even if it was Ryan. We always joke and say that if we weren't dating and we never dated, we'd probably be really good friends. So I personally don't think I could be friends with an ex, but maybe you can, and that's great. It's different for everybody. Got a couple questions of how do you not get bored in a relationship when it's long term. So I think this is not gonna help some of you, but I think finding the right person is really key. And also, this is where personality comes into play, because if you just like them because they look pretty, that's not enough. For me, sense of humor is huge. I always laugh so much when Ryan and I hang out, and that's my favorite thing about him. And that he will have until he dies. Like, you know what I mean? So I think it's just finding the right person with the right personality traits that are what you're looking for and that can entertain you forever. Like I said, that's not going to help some of you. As far as if you're in a relationship and that's not necessarily the case, maybe you guys miss the butterfly stage of dating. I can relate to that, because that's my favorite part of dating, is really the beginning, when you're getting to know someone and you're flirting and it's just like, you know, all lighthearted. That's really fun. So maybe you could recreate that, or, you know, send a cute text or a saucy text or something, you know, just to recreate the butterflies that you had in the beginning. I love this question. Why do you think it is more accepted for the man to be several years older than the woman and not the other way around? Well, I am several years older than Ryan. I'm 4 years older than him. And I think it's more accepted because men are meant to be like the powerful figure, the person who's like the taller one, which is stupid, but you know what I mean? Like the big muscular man who's gonna protect the woman and who's gonna provide for her. And I think that's where the age gap comes into play, is that the man is seen to be the provider and to make the money, and so he's more likely to have a career if he's older. For me personally, that means nothing. Like, that does not matter to me. I'm very much, how do I say, not anti-chivalrous, but just, you know, strong feminist. Like, I'll make my own money. It mattered more in the beginning of our relationship when we were 18 and 22, But now that we're, you know, like almost 27 and 23, it's definitely changed, and the age gap means nothing. Like I really don't notice it ever. Sorry if this is too personal, but did you guys ever have any intimacy issues, i.e. not finding time, not feeling it, not having it, or wanting it always, etc.? That's a great question, because I think a lot of people go through that, especially in long-term relationships where it kind of dies down. I think this relationship is very much different than my past relationships, because that's definitely happened to me before in the past, and I don't really know how to overcome that. But again, finding the right person. I think if you're not feeling it all the time, it kind of goes back to being bored, and you have to A, have the right person in your life to not feel that way, and B, spice it up a little bit if you want, and like I said, send a text message or something, you know, just to like step outside your comfort zone a little bit. Try different things is really, really important in keeping the relationship and the intimate relationship alive. So have an open mind. That'd be a great tip for that one, is just be open-minded, hear what they want, feel free to speak your mind and say what you want. Do you think it's unhealthy for couples to be around each other constantly? Should there be downtime? Definitely have some downtime. I'm very pro not seeing them every day necessarily, unless you live together, then that's different, because hopefully then you're at a more serious point in your relationship. It was really hard for me in the beginning of our relationship, because I was more like, I would have seen him every day, all day if I could have in the beginning. I was obsessed with him, which I'm still obsessed with him, mind you. But I do think you need to still have your life with other people and have your life on your own. And especially for like myself, I've never been single in my life. Downtime is crucial, because if I'm constantly around people and like around that one person, how do I know myself? How do I get to be with myself and just be chill with myself? You know what I mean? And you don't want to give up your life for someone. Never sacrifice your life or your friendships for your partner, because although they may be your world, they can be temporary. This is in the beginning. Of course, if you're more serious, then it kind of, you know, it depends. But in the beginning of a relationship, do not sacrifice your whole life for them. Is it bad that I hate being in relationships? How do I get myself to do the emotionally attached thing? Girl, if you don't like being in a relationship, don't be in one. Don't force yourself into an uncomfortable situation, because ultimately you'll probably end up hurting them. Don't get into anything too serious where pain might ensue from your lack of being able to get emotionally attached. But there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it probably will just come to you later in life, or never. If it's never, that's fine. We all have different paths in lives, so don't feel bad about not being able to be emotionally attached to someone. Just do you. Do your parents like Ryan and vice versa? Do you think it's important for your significant other to get along well with your family? Not necessarily, but it depends on the person. If you're a very family-oriented person, then they'd probably do better in the relationship if they did get along with your family. But for us, families aren't a deal breaker, but I've definitely seen on like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, families are a deal breaker, which I don't really get that personally, because you're different from your family. You're gonna have different opinions, different interests, and different people in your life than your family will. So I don't necessarily think it matters too much. Obviously, you don't want them to hate them, because that'll make things awkward if you ever want to marry that person. The best advice I can give for a relationship is to respect the other person and understand that they're going to have different viewpoints from you. They're probably not intentionally trying to hurt you if they ever do, but in general, they probably want the relationship to work just as much as you do. So try to find someone where you have that like really good friendship. I never understood the phrase marry your best friend until I met Ryan. Okay, this video is way too long. It's gonna be like the longest No Makeup Monday ever, but I really wanted to cover those questions because I think they're really good and really important topics that you guys asked. You guys asked great questions, so thank you. I hope this video was helpful. Please feel free to leave some more questions down below and I'll try and get back to you in the comments, or we all can just have a discussion and have other people respond to your question as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hey guys, so this shirt, super appropriate for today's video because we're gonna be trying some vegan foods. Also, yes, I'm rocking the no eyebrow trend. Get ready with me is coming.